Hello, in this video I'm going to show you how to use the XML library built into Python to edit XML files. Now it can be a bit complicated. I'll go over a few things and ways that I use to make small edits to the file. Obviously it's a good idea to read the documentation first, but hopefully after watching this video you'll have a general understanding on how this works. So let's start by copying the XML file example file that is provided in the website. What we'll do is let's go to the desktop and create a new text document, and let's open it and paste it in. Save it, Control S. Notepad is fine, but whatever software you prefer to use, it's okay. It just needs to be a text editor. Let's call it sample.xml. Right, saved on my desktop. Now we need to use I recommend using Spider for editing Python scripts, so this is what I'm gonna use, but obviously you can use whichever version you prefer or program that you prefer. So let's save this as on my desktop as I don't know, xml edit.py. Save. Let's make sure that I set to my console working directory, and I should be able to see the sample.xml file in the file browser as well, and I can even open it and see it in Spider. So let's start. First of all, let's make a variable that is going to store the file I'm going to use. So XML file equal sample.xml, and this is, you call it whatever your XML you're working with is called. It doesn't have to be this. You don't have to do it this way. But the way I've written it, it's gonna look for this file in the same folder as my Python script. So if your file is in a different spot, obviously you need to choose the right path. So the next bit is actually from the same website, and all we need to do is literally copy these 3 lines. This is what we need to actually start doing things in with the XML. So we need to import the ElementTree library as ET, which is fine, makes it a bit easier to work with. And we need to parse it. So this we're gonna replace with our file name, XML file, and actually we're gonna move this down here, so it's actually, this is the proper way to code. The imports go always at the top. So we import the XML, we parse it, and we get the roots. So let's execute this, and I have them in my variable explorer, but actually I want to see what my contents are. Obviously I can just look here, but one way to do it in code is to use this line, the dump function, and we want to dump the tree. Now if I just execute this, which you can do in Spider by highlighting the line and pressing F9 in Windows anyway, we get the printout of the XML. So there's a few things we need to sort of go over before we make a start. There's a few things. This is actually similar to what a dictionary. It is actually basically a dictionary. So if I wanted to write this in Python, this is the same as writing, I don't know, country equals, and then we make a dictionary. Let's see, Liechtenstein, let's call it lift, and then these values are in here. This is basically a dictionary within a dictionary. It's a nested dictionary. So if we wrote this, if we wrote this, let's say rank 1, comma year 2008. Actually, before, let's do this. There you go. So this is basically what what we are dealing with. It's just written slightly differently, but it does the same thing. So your data is your main sort of container, and then you have sort of nested, let's call them container. There's a name for a few things that we need to go over. So what this is a tag, and this is how a tag ends. So it has this sort of / and repeats the name of the tag. What's inside in Python, at least in the element tree, is referred as the text. So all of this would be the text. This would be the tag, and this thing written like this, which is within sort of the tag itself, is the attributes. So let's see how we can sort of navigate through this mess. So one of your best friends is basically going to be the command root.findAll, and the way we use it is sort of we iterate through the XML and we try to extract the information. So for sort of variable names, let's call it element in root.findAll, and then we need to specify a path. So this is the X path that I was talking about. So for start, let's start with this. So and what we're gonna do is gonna print the element dot, and then we print the tag. So let's see what happens if I do this. I get data. That's our start. So all of this is documented in the website. So you have to scroll down to the XPath syntax, and we have a few things. So there's the dot, there's the 2 /, there's this, so it selects the elements for which the given attribute as the given value, and so on. And I'm gonna go over some of these as is shown in the example. This is basically what we're gonna do. If I do the dot, it just gives me the top value. I can dig a little bit further in. So if I run this command, I get country, because there are three countries. However, if I want to show every single value, now we use the 2 /, and if I execute this, I get everything that's inside. However, it's quite difficult to work with, because now we know we have all the tags, but we don't know which one belongs to which sort of container. So we can, instead of extracting the tag, we can look at the attributes. So if I run just this line, press F9, I get what's inside. Again, not very clear. I can look for the text. So if I run this, it outputs the text. Now we can see there's missing values in here. This is because there's actually no text associated with this, so with the country, for example, and there's nothing for the neighbor either. But we see the contents when we run the attributes. So let's try and put country in the XPath directly and see what happens. I need to put tag in here because we're looking for the tags. Right. That didn't help much. We know there's three entries with the tag country, but we don't know which country it is. If I run attributes like I did before, we can see that we have the name for various countries, and this is this value here on the element tree or on the XML file. Say I wanted to look at Panama in particular, for example, and I didn't care about this. How do we isolate and go further inside the country sort of container? Well, we can use the supported syntax, and which is actually this one here, to isolate which value we actually want. So, for example, I want to find the attribute called name, Panama, and let's extract the tags. So if I run this, now we just get one country. Actually, what I want to do is put an extra / whoops, nope, it goes on this side. We have the contents of our XPath. Let's rerun this to view our tree again. So when I ask for the tags inside of country, I get only the ones for Panama using the string. Now let's run attribute, and let's see what we get inside. Now we have 3 entries with no attributes inside, which is fine. We have the rank, which doesn't have any attributes, the year, and the GD PPC. However, we have 2 which have the name Costa Rica and Colombia, and the direction. I guess this is the neighboring country, of Panama. I can use the same method I used before to narrow down. For example, I want to find the attribute of the neighbor in direction west. Well, all I need to do is write the name of the tag, which is my XPath. So I need to go. See, if we follow this, we go country and then we go neighbor. So we need to, let's copy paste neighbor, and then we add our command, and this time it's direction. So our attribute is named is called direction, and the value we're looking for is west. Capital letter. And if I run this, now I just get Costa Rica, which is the only element inside our country which has attribute direction west. So using this sort of tricks, you can extract the information that you want for a specific entry inside your XML. But how do we change it? Say I want to change this attribute. The main sort of tool that we're gonna use is again root find all. This is gonna take us to this key in particular, except this time we don't want to print it. So all we want to do, element.attribute, and we want to set this value to, now these attributes are dictionaries in Python when you view them through the element tree. So we need to give it a new dictionary, really. Now I can, for example, if we wanted to change this, let's put exclamation marks over here. Then we just change this value here, and that will overwrite this element with whatever we put in here. So we can also do, I don't know, southwest. Now if I run this command, and then view my element tree, oh, there it is. It has updated my direction to southwest, like I said, and the neighbor now has got sort of exclamation points. Okay, so we've changed attributes, but how do we change the value inside the tag? So let's do it with Liechtenstein. Let's see. We want to change this rank to, let's say, number 2. Maybe it didn't do very well the following year. So let's go 4. Well, I want to type it in here. I want to type it in here. So let's go 4, and then we write xlm, and in again root dot find all, and we need to give it a path, so we know it's a country, and the name is actually Liechtenstein, but let's do it this way. Let's copy paste, make our life a bit easier, and then we want to go to the rank path. So I've got rank. Now if I now print it, and xlm dot tag, let's see what happens. We have our tag, and then if I do text, oh, there it is. That's the value that we want to change. All right, so just the same as before, we want to change this value. So let's actually do this. Let's do xlm dot text, because we're changing the text, and then we change this to 2. Now it needs to be a string, so all the values inside are text, so they're strings. So if I put 2, it would complain, or you might get errors. But if you're using, for example, a procedure to change your values, and you have integers, for example, well, you just do this, and then it should convert it just fine. And now if I run this value, oh, it's printed 2, so I should have changed it. If I dump the 3 again, you should see that now our rank for Liechtenstein has gone to 2. Right, let's automate this a bit. Let's say I want to extract the rank for all 3 countries. Well, first of all, let's create an empty list, and then again our friend is gonna come in handy again. Well, we don't want to extract the value just for Liechtenstein just yet. So let's do that. Then y.append. So this will let us append a string, well, a value to our y list, and I want the value dot well, let's do this, value dot text. If I run this now, I now have a list. Let's do this, 2, 4, and 68, which is our ranks for various countries. Let's try X, and another empty list. Let's extract the country name for element in root.find all. I don't know why I didn't copy paste it, but let's go for it. Dot country, because I want to extract all of them. Let's test it first. Let's print the element dot attribute, and because it's a dictionary, I can call it the same way I would call a dictionary in Python. So I'm gonna ask for the attribute, and I'm gonna ask for just the name. And before we run it, let's just just run through it. There you go. I've got the code has printed the 3 names. Now let's append them to our X list, and well, let's copy paste this, and that's it. Really, let's run this. Now if I output Y, I've got a list with the 3 names. So we've gone over a few different things, but we haven't actually added anything to our XML yet. Let's show the element tree again. Let's see what we've got. Now let's say I want to take a trip, and I want to add the cost of the flight, and let's say the time in hours it would take to get to this particular country. So let's create 2 lists. One, let's call it cost, and that's gonna contain the values in dollars for how much the flight is gonna cost. So in order, we have Liechtenstein, Singapore, and Panama. So let's say Liechtenstein cost $2,000, and I don't know, Singapore costs $3,000, and Panama costs $4,000. There it is. All right. Now you have travel time, and let's say this one takes 3 hours, and Singapore takes about 8 hours. Now, as you can see, I'm using strings because that's what we need, and I want to add them as a sort of as an attribute, and I want to call the attribute flight costs and trip duration, let's say, and I want to give it a tag called holiday, let's say. Now I need to iterate through this because I need to apply these at a specific sort of index inside my country, which is also indexed, I guess. So what I'm gonna do is gonna start a counter at 0 here, and then again for element in root.find all, and then I need to give it a path. Now the path is the same as what we used before because we want to insert this into in country. We can use a function called the sub element, and we need to call it from et because I don't want to type the whole thing, and it's called the sub element. Now you run this in place, and I want to run it for each route it finds in under country. I wanna add a sub element. So it takes the parent, the tag. So in our case, we said we want holiday and the attributes and some extras. So if you need to add extras, you can read this. So everything we use, it's in here. You just need to find out what you're looking for. So the first thing we want is the parent. Now the parent is our element. We've given it a parent. Now we need a tag. Now our tag is a string, and I want my string to be holiday. Right. Then we want to give it an attribute. In our case, so attribute, it's a dictionary. So attribute equal, and we open the curly bracket. Let's give it a sort of a key value. Let's call it flight cost, and I'm not gonna use spaces because sometimes it can be a bit of a pain when you have spaces, and my value is gonna be cost. Now I guess, like I mentioned before, we're iterating through this, and I want to use the first index of my two lists so index 0 for Liechtenstein, because the first root is gonna be Liechtenstein. We extracted them before, didn't we? So there they are. We're still on our console. What I'm gonna do is, so the first time is gonna find the country. I'm gonna use the index 0, which I specified here. However, after I run my code, if I kept this code as is, it will iterate and the next value will still be 0. So what we do is we increment, and there's a sort of simple way of writing it in Python, which is I plus equals 1, which increments the value by 1. I can use 2 and it increments it by 2. Now this is the same as writing I equals I plus 1, but it's a bit cleaner if we go plus equal 1. So the next time it finds an attribute, so the code, it runs from the top. So it's found the first root. It uses 0 because this is the value we gave it before. Then after it's run it, it's gonna increment I by 1. So the next time it goes through, I is gonna stay inside the for loop. It's gonna select 1 because now 0 plus 1 equals 1, and it's gonna select the second value with index 1 in our list. Now we also said we want to add travel time, so we're still inside our dictionary. Let's put a comma. Let's go on the next line to make it a bit cleaner. So let's call it trip duration, and it's gonna have a value of travel time. And again, I use the same trick as before to select the index 0, and then the next one is going to be 1, and then 2. We only stop at 2 because we only have 3 values in our list. Right. So if I now run this code, oh, name cost. Oh yes, because I need to run this part as well. There we go. Now if I let's copy it down here. Now if I run this, what do we have here? So we have a new tag called holiday. We have 2 attributes, flight cost, under country. It's not properly indented, but that's not a problem. It doesn't actually matter in the grand scheme of things. The important part is that the closing tag for our country is at the end. This basically means that our value is contained within. If I actually go XML, let's see, let's reload it. Oh, actually, let's save this. To write it, we use 3, and we use the write, and then we want to open brackets if I can find them on my keyboard, and I need to give it a file name. Now let's say I want to use XML file, but I want to append at the end the word edit, just so I still have my original ElementTree. So what I need to do, if I go -4, it's gonna put me right here, right? And then I'm gonna add edit.xml right at the end. And if I run this command, let's run it, see what happens. And I go to my file explorer. There you go. I now have a file called sampleedit.xml file. And if I open this, we can see it's formatted exactly the same way we saw previously when we used the dump function. But technically speaking, if we did some cleaning up, And if you use other programs like Atom, they have their function called Beautify, which basically lets you reformat the XML, so you get this pretty view. Normally, what you find is that the XMLs are stored without any spaces, so it would be all in one line, and it will all be written like this, which makes it very difficult to sort of view and know where you are. So sort of Python, the Python library sort of did us a favor and sort of cleaned it up for us, but you may have to use other programs to sort of clean it up just to see what you're working with. We've added attributes, we've added an element, but we have not added a piece of text, for example. Let's say I want to add a star rating. Let's say I went on this trip to Singapore, and I want to add a star rating, which is going to be my tag, and I'm going to add a text value of 5 stars, so 5. We can use the same code we used before to go to Panama. So if I copy paste this, oh, actually I missed the dot, and let's recycle some text. Now if I run this, it will find, actually let's print all the tags, just so we know what we're doing. So whoops, right, so we are in the right spot. Now if to add a new tag, I actually need to be here. This is where XML sort of editing gets a bit confusing. Sometimes you're missing part of your code, part of your / on your XPath, and you'll be scratching your head for half an hour trying to figure out what's going on. But because we're using sub element again, we need to be without the slash. We need to be in the country, and I'm going to add a sub element to this country in particular. So I'm going to use ElementTree and sub element, just like I did before. And in order to add a text, so a star rating, so our 5, we need to add sort of a container first. So that's why we're using sub element. Let's call it star rating. And this time I'm gonna assign it a value, new value equals this, and this is gonna allow me to now add a new text value to our sub element. So in this case, my trip to Singapore was 5 stars, so I'm gonna add this value, and then at the end I'm gonna dump the tree to check if everything went according to plan. So if I run this, Singapore, rank 4, year 2011, blah blah blah, holiday flight cost, star rating 5. There it is. Let's save the XML file, because by pressing F9 on the control, let's open this. It's gonna ask us if we want to reload it. Yes. Now, because it's very hard again to see what's going on, let's reformat it, but I assure you everything has worked. There you are. We now have a new tag under country, Singapore. There's nothing underneath Liechtenstein and Panama, and our star rating has been correctly imported. It's the fact that the formatting is a bit sort of wonky, can be a bit confusing at the start, but once it's read by a program, this won't be an issue at all. Hopefully, if you followed along, now you have an idea of how this works, and you can find the specific function that you're looking for yourself. So bye.